Senior writer at The Athletic, Meg Linehan, joining us now. Meg, I'm thinking about what it would have been like to be in Exploria Stadium, a week of emotion spilling over at the center of the pitch. Describe what it was like to be there.
I think you could feel the support from a U.S. crowd that has also been through it and has supported their own national team. And I think the common mood was just kind of this exhaustion. And we saw it from Canada during the game. Christine Sinclair echoed that after the match, that the week has taken a physical toll on these players. It was very encouraging to see the level of support really coming from all directions.
When you talked about the toll, maybe put the human toll a little bit on this, a little more pointed, because Canada did look exhausted.
Yeah, I think that there was a real sense of solidarity. And what was really interesting is watching Canada train the day before the game, there was this looseness, right? They showed up, they rolled in, their jerseys were inside out for training, but they had an American football with them. They were tossing the ball around, they were being a little goofy. And there was this sense of, this is about us right now, right? Like, we're showing up for each other, we're taking joy in each other. And at the same time, though, there is this sense of they are being asked to do things that players don't expect to have to do, right? And I think we've seen this on the U.S. side of, there is a real physical and mental cost to this sort of battle, especially against your own federation. Obviously, they want to play, right? Like, that has been reinforced. Like, they don't want to have to take job action before some of the most important games of their World Cup preparation, a World Cup that they really feel like they have a legitimate shot of reaching a final, right? Like, that's not something that they want to do. So there is this real emotional, physical, mental cost, because your energy is being split in so many different directions. You're trying to show up for the public, you're trying to show up for your teammate, you're trying to show up for this bigger concept of gender equity. And there's a lot there. And it's a lot for any person, any human to handle at the end of the day.
But I'm wondering, waking up the day after the game, sort of where we're at, and what is your sense from the players and maybe some of the background stuff on getting a deal done? Because the Canadian women have made it clear they're going to be wearing the purple, wearing the shirts, playing in protest, won't even play or train in April. So what's your sense on the current situation right now and how this might get resolved?
I think it's going to be a really tough path forward, because obviously the players have really laid out what is ahead on their side. But from a Canada soccer point of view, at the heart of this is the deal with Canada Soccer Business, right? And that is a contract that you can't necessarily get out of, right? Like, that thing is signed, it's done. But there is a sense of, you do need outside forces sometimes to come into this. And that is why public sentiment has been so important overall from a player point of view, because when you get public sentiment behind you, which we have seen, then that does force outside influence to kind of come in and say, hey, how can we come in here and find a resolution, right? But at the heart of it, there is this contract that Canada Soccer has essentially said, all of our revenue here is going somewhere else, and is not, we've got this system where we get a certain piece back, and that's our investment.
What role does FIFA have? Because what I'm hearing from Canada Soccer, Meg, is, hey, we're given 10 times more money for a men's World Cup compared to a women's World Cup, and we have to figure out as a national sport federation how to divvy that up fairly. Any comments on closing the gap at the highest level, at the FIFA level?
Yeah, this is exactly what we went through with the U.S., right? And that was why the equal pay part of the new collective bargaining agreements for the women's national team and the men's national team was so interesting, because they voluntarily came together, right, as part of their negotiations, along with U.S. Soccer, and said, we're going to pool all of this prize money and then split it after, right? So we're going to correct FIFA's problem with the unequal prize situation. So it does right now fall on federations and players' associations to figure out a path through this moment until FIFA is willing to change. And we've seen the rate of speed at which FIFA changes, right? So like, you almost kind of have to set that aside for a while and say, how do we get through this right now? And the US did kind of provide a blueprint of, if you can get the men and women
Right.
to come to the table together and come up with a plan that they feel is fair, maybe that's one way through. And that, I think, is a conversation that you should be having with players that are actually winning you that prize money. Like, that feels like a fair thing to have a discussion about. But FIFA, it's hard to count on FIFA for much right now.
The beautiful game, Meg, and big problems exist, no doubt. Wonderful
Yeah.
perspective. Grateful for you. We'll continue to follow your coverage, and we're grateful for your perspective.
Thank you for having me.